This election has been litigated and litigated and litigated. Donald Trump lost. Even though the procedures were questionable, the review also determined that he lost. It is 2026. What are we doing?
Welcome back to Square Off. Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs was Secretary of State back in 2020 and certified Joe Biden's victory in Arizona over Donald Trump. You heard Hobbs ask, what are we doing? Are Republican candidates on the Arizona ballot in 2026 asking themselves the same thing? Do they want these investigations? Our politics panel steps in with their answer. Republican consultant Barrett Marson of Marson Media and Democratic consultant Tony Cani of Slingshot Campaigns. Welcome back to Square Off. So if you're a Republican on the November ballot, do you want to be taking questions about what happened in 2020 or didn't happen in 2020?
You know, when I go to Peoria Cafe or when I go to an Angels spring training game in Tempe, 2020 is all I hear about. That's what everybody wants to talk about. You know, this is now 6 years old. Let's move on. And I don't believe that, certainly the base, the people at your LD meetings, they want to hear about it. But the general populace, the general election voter doesn't care. And we really need to move on from this. This is not helping Republicans win elections in 2026.
But will they be able to move on? Because it does appear, as David Becker said, this is a strategy.
Yeah, this is first. There's a couple reasons here. One is there's an economy around this type of election denialism where there's people who raise a ton of money for their own pet projects or to their campaign coffers. You know, you have Senator Wendy Rogers and Mark Finchem who both raised a tremendous amount of money by pushing these conspiracy theories after in 2021. And so that's going to keep happening. There's going to be this drive for money. But it's bad for the candidates. It's really bad for the candidates. I think Peterson and Biggs, they don't want this to be the topic in the general election. And I think that it really could cost them the votes. I mean, in the last, in the election that happened immediately after this, Democrats won in areas of the state that we normally wouldn't win in. And a lot of it, I think, was a rejection of this kind of conspiracy pushing.
If 2020 is the main topic of 2026, I would expect a repeat of 2024. Or sorry, 2022. 2022. Yeah. I think Katie Hobbs and Chris Mays want nothing better than to talk about 2020.
You mentioned Warren Peterson. He was only more than happy to post on social media and reveal that the FBI subpoenaed all these documents from the Arizona State Senate. Why would he do that if he's ambivalent about it?
I think it's
I think it was a good public service, quite frankly. I mean, because you guys, the media was calling the county, the recorder's office, everybody and his brother, the Secretary of State. That was a good public service.
Well, really what was happening is it was much easier to tweet that than to say, Donald Trump, please endorse me. I need an endorsement. I'm barely even polling well. It's only undecided. That's what this is about. It was 100% a naked grab to try and get the president's attention, to get an endorsement in a race that he's struggling in when he should.
He did retweet it over a Truth Social post by Trump.
There was a poll that came out that showed Peterson like 1 point up on Rodney Glassman. It shows you the power of being Senate president, I guess. You're still really not known by people.
He's not the first person who might have to learn that. Let's turn to the Republican primary for governor. Congressman David Schweikert got out the brass knuckles kind of early. Let's take a look at this mailer paid for by the Schweikert campaign. It promotes what it says is Andy Biggs' record on anti-Semitism and white supremacy. There are some associations with extremists that are highlighted. Here's how Congressman Biggs responded at a recent candidate forum. Quote, "There isn't anybody who knows me that believes that at all." Barrett, why is Congressman Schweikert getting so nasty so soon?
Well, first of all, he's down, 30, 40 points. He's not picking up the Karen Taylor Robeson people probably like he had hoped. But, quite frankly, I'm just waiting for the mailer that accuses Andy Biggs of being gay.
Okay, you got to explain that.
Schweikert in some previous races has hinted at some of his opponents being gay, despite the fact that there's no evidence to that. And so that has been a consistent theme of his campaign. So I'm just waiting for him to say Biggs is gay as well.
Is truth a defense here for Congressman Schweikert, Tony? And I wonder if Katie Hobbs might make this a part of her campaign if Andy Biggs does advance?
I mean, maybe. I think that in a primary like this, you said it seems really early. I think that in today's environment in a primary, you have to start spending early if you want to win, if you want to break through, especially when he's behind, right? Like the 41% of the voters in that last poll said they were undecided. 40% were for Biggs. That's a big hill to climb. But Biggs also has a lot of vulnerabilities, I think, even with Republicans. And so I don't know if he can catch up. But these types of attacks are the kind of things he's always campaigned on. He's the guy that can throw a punch, I guess, say figuratively. And I think that this is the only path he has to catch up.
And frankly, I'd rather be talking, if I'm Andy Biggs, I'd rather be talking about all this in March and April than in October and November. So getting it out there now maybe is better for him.
But could we see it again in October and November?
Oh, the hits will keep coming.
Yes, they will. Let's go to topic C. Governor Hobbs vetoed the Charlie Kirk license plate, saying the proceeds would have gone to a partisan political cause, Turning Point USA. She got a lot of blowback from the TPUSA folks. There's still a bill out there that would rename the 77-mile Loop 202 as the Charlie Kirk Freeway. If that bill reaches her desk, will Hobbs veto that one too? Tony?
I don't know.
Don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think that the veto of the license plate made a ton of sense. I do think that that money would go directly to an organization that spends it on political activity. I don't know whether or not she would veto it. I don't even know what the standards are that we're supposed to use to rename.
I'm old enough to remember the Piestewa Piestewa Peak name change controversy, and Republicans were steadfast that we should wait the 5 years to rename something. And instead, Janet Napolitano unilaterally went from Squaw Peak to Piestewa Peak. And there was a lot of controversy about that. People have seemed to have forgotten that we usually wait 5 years after someone dies to do something like that.
For those who aren't old enough to remember, just quick, Lori Piestewa, what was the...
Well, she was the first Native American killed in combat.
Native American woman.
Native American woman, yes, I'm sorry. Killed in combat back in Iraq.
Yeah, and that was...
yes, it was.
That was a big deal. And
that was a big deal.
Napolitano got a huge blowback. I'll be on the record. She will veto it. She's pretty much telegraphed, I think. She's going to go let the commission
I agree.
do what the Republicans said should have been done back then. I do want to end real quick. ESAs, we had a segment there. Will the ESA initiative, the initiative reining in ESAs, will it pass?
I think
if it makes it to the ballot.
I think it probably will pass, if only because the people who are pushing for the ESAs are unwilling to admit that there needs to be even minor changes. They will not, they won't even budge on that. And as a result, I think people are going to look that there needs to be some corrections made, and they're going to vote for it.
And I think had the legislature put in some reasonable regulation, that you can't buy golf simulators and dune buggies and things like that, there would be no need, or this would be a less popular alternative. But because there is zero accountability, zero regulation, this may just pass.
All right, Barrett, Marson, Tony, Cani, thank you so much for joining us.